Good evening, friends. Welcome to the post-budget talk of the BSE Brokers Forum. We have in our midst today several luminaries, most of them who need no introduction, but we have to go through the motions, so let me do the honors. First and foremost, we have Mrs. Bhavna Doshi, who is currently a senior advisor with KPMG. She is a qualified chartered accountant and a merit list holder. During her professional career of more than 25 years, she specializes in the field of taxation and has handled various assignments relating to restructuring, valuation shares, etc. She is an elected member of the Central Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and chairs research and indirect taxes committees. She was a member of the Compliance Advisory Panel of International Federation of Accountants from 2007 to 2009. She is the chairperson of the Indirect Taxation Committee and a member of the Managing Committee of Indian Merchants Chambers. Our second speaker for the day is Dr. C.K. Narayan, who has been associated with the stock markets for the past 25 years. During this period, he was an active sub-broker in the 80s and 90s and a jobber in the trading ring for many years. He has made himself proficient in the field of technical analysis as well as derivatives. He has authored several books, amongst which are Futures and Options for the Investor, and his second book is currently under completion. It's called Comprehensive Technical Analysis. Our next speaker for the day, and who is also going to be the master of ceremonies, is Mr. Ramesh Damani. He, of course, needs no introduction. Ramesh ji has been a friendly face amongst all of us and always served as a friend, philosopher and guide. With these few words, I request Bhanubai to welcome all the guests with floral bouquet. Before I hand over the proceedings of the evening to Ramesh ji, I would request you to all please put your cell phones on silent. Thank you very much.
Good evening and welcome to this function organized by the BSE Brokers Forum. It is often said that taxes are paid and nations are made, and budgets are always made or broken in the lights of the taxation policies that the government introduces. And I think some of us are old veteran. I see Kishan Bhai's face there. I'm also a veteran now. You remember the days in India, the marginal tax rate was 95%, and if you included the wealth tax, you basically had a disincentive to work. And against that backdrop, it's just stunning how far this country has come, that we now have estate duty, we have no wealth tax, we have zero long-term capital gains tax. India in many ways has become very progressive tax haven status. And in this budget, I think Pranab Mukherjee has done a lot to push the agenda even further in terms of increasing the slabs for middle people, giving us a roadmap for direct tax code, giving us a map for introduction of the GST, general sales tax. So a very exciting period ahead, and I think depending on how the taxation policy goes around, they spur growth, which in turn, of course, spurs the market. So let me ask Ms. Bhavna Doshi to come and give her view on the taxation and its impact on markets and on the economy over the next year. Thank you. Bhavna, please.
Thank you, Mr. Damani, and a very good afternoon to all of you. It's really a pleasure to be here talking to you about taxation policy. And as the introductions were being made, I was just thinking, what is my association with the stock markets? And the only association is that I do make some investments, always getting in at the wrong time and getting out also at the wrong time. With that, let me stick to my taxation subject. This time, the finance minister had a very, very tough challenge. There was inflation on one hand, food prices really going up. There was pressure on the amount that he would have to spend for social sector reforms, for the infrastructure development, for agricultural sector, for the food processing sector, for general well-being, healthcare of the society at large. Now, since he needed a lot of funds Obviously, the funds can come primarily from either disinvestment, borrowing, or from taxation. Disinvestment, something is going to happen. Borrowings, he had to curtail. He couldn't go beyond substantial amounts because the debt and GDP ratio was really getting affected. We were paying huge amounts by way of interest. So the only other sector which he could really touch upon is taxation. And in taxation, he's done so beautiful balancing that the market really felt very happy. First, when we were listening to his speech and when we heard that he has increased the excise duty rates across the board from 8% to 10%, I thought the markets would react very strongly and perhaps it would go down. As soon as the speech was over, we heard that the market is up 400 points. And then we were thinking perhaps when the markets again open today, it would react somewhat. But we find no, market is very happy. We were all expecting worse. And as Mr. Damani said, there was a time when we were paying income tax of 95% and then wealth tax and gift tax and overall the taxes. I remember in some cases used to work out to 108%. So effectively people were giving out their capital to sustain themselves. From that, today we are at a very, very comfortable position, and in fact, when we talk to international community, India is like a tax heaven. You have the average tax rate, the marginal rate is 30%, little surcharge, but otherwise the average tax rate comes to about 20-22%, which is a great rate for any country like ours. So what could he do? What could the finance minister do? So far as taxation policy is concerned, again, as he said, there are two major reforms which are on the way. We have the direct tax code, which is likely to come up. In the direct tax code, there have been concerns, huge concerns, whether MAT, the minimum alternate tax, should be linked to the assets. That's an area where everyone has expressed concerns. There are other areas also there are concerns. But he said, I have looked at this, I will address this, so don't worry about it. At this point of time, let me look at the current issues which I have to handle. So what did he do? He said, let me put more income in the hands of people because we need more investment. People all over are saying that we are affected by inflation. And then if we have to maintain certain level of growth, inflation is bound to be there. So what do? You put more income in the hands of people, and at the same time he said, I don't want to increase the threshold. We have the threshold of 1,60,000 and 2,40,000. There was popular feeling before budget that perhaps it will be increased by 10,000. He said, I'm not doing it. And rightly so, because the general principle is that let people remain in the tax net. Let government get the information. People should not go out of the tax net. But at the same time, he wanted to leave more income in the hands of people, so he changed the slab rates. As a result, we find that there are people who will be left with 20,000 rupees more, some people will be left with 50,000 rupees more, of which part amount will go in savings with the infrastructure bond benefit. Some people will put in 20,000 in those infrastructure bonds to get additional tax benefits, but the rest of the amount people will have to spend. Now, when they spend, it will increase the demand, and that would again help the industry grow. So that was so far as income tax is concerned. Rest all income tax are primarily adjustments. Adjustments where there were anomalies, where there was some simplification required, where there was some special incentive which was required to be given. So when we look at that, what we find is that on overall basis, all the income tax incentives, benefits that he has given will lead to about 26,000 crore which he has given away. That means as of at whatever level you were today, 26,000 crore rupees less will be collected by government. That means that much more money will be left in the hands of people, some with the corporates, some with the individuals. Now that money which he has given away, he had to collect. Plus he had to collect something more. So what he did was, so far as excise duty was concerned, he increased the rate across the board for all items by 2%. This 2% and then some other adjustments which he has made will